All right, everyone, ready to dive in because today we're looking at something pretty relatable, emotional ignorance.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's familiar with that feeling, right?
For sure. And you've sent over some fascinating excerpts from this book by Dean Burnett.
Oh, yeah. He's great.
You know the one with that ostrich burying its head in the sand?
Yeah, that's the one. And it's really a pretty perfect image when you think about it, right?
Definitely.
Because Burnett's a neuroscientist, so he really knows the brain, but he also knows how to make it interesting. Tell a story.
Yeah, he's got that knack for making science make sense.
Exactly. And he uses that image to really highlight this gap we all experience between how well we think we know our emotions and then how our brains are actually wired.
So we're starting with a neuroscientist and a confused ostrich. This is going to be good. So before we get lost in the neurons and synapses, what is emotional ignorance? How does Burnett define it?
Well, it really comes down to this idea that we're often in the dark about our own emotions.
We're driving blind.
Kind of. It's not about being, good with your feelings or bad with your feelings, but just recognizing that there's a limit to how much we really understand what's going on in our own heads.
So it's not like a judgment call. It's more like an honest self-assessment.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, Burnett says this isn't some personality defect. It's something we all experience to some degree.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He gives those funny examples in the book, too, like misreading social cues or completely overreacting to something that in hindsight wasn't even a big deal.
Exactly. Those everyday moments where you're like, did I really just do that?
Yeah.
Often come from this place of emotional ignorance. We act on impulse because our brains are wired for that survival first feelings later.
It's like evolution played a joke on us, gave us this whole spectrum of emotions, but forgot to give us the instruction manual.
Right. So then the big question is, why don't we know ourselves better? If emotions are so central to being human, why the disconnect?
Yeah, good question.
Well, that's where the neuroscience comes in. Burnett breaks it down in a way that even I, as a fellow brain enthusiast, find fascinating. He talks about the limbic system, which is that ancient part of our brain that processes emotions in a raw, instinctive way.
So the part of our brain that yells danger every time we spill coffee on ourselves.
Well, not always, but you get the idea. It's our brain's alarm system, completely hardwired for survival. And then on the other hand, there's the prefrontal cortex, which is the more evolved part of our brain, the one in charge of rational thought.
Oh, so it's like our inner voice of reason.
Exactly.
Bang.
And it's constantly trying to reason with that panic limbic system.
So it's like a constant battle between our inner drama queen and our inner logician.
Pretty much. And to make things even more interesting, Burnett points out that the prefrontal cortex, that voice of reason, isn't fully developed until our mid-20s.
So that's why teenagers and young adults are often stereotyped as impulsive. Their brains are literally still under construction.
Exactly. But getting back to emotional ignorance, it sounds like this whole tug of war happening in our brains can have some real-world consequences, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's not just happening in our heads.
No, not at all. Burnett digs into how this impacts our relationships, our decision-making, even our mental well-being.
Okay, so emotional ignorance is messing with our heads and our lives. We need to unpack this more. Give me the details. What kind of havoc does this wreak on us? So emotional ignorance is messing with our heads and our lives. We need to unpack this more. Give me the details. What kind of havoc does this wreak on us?
Well, let's start with relationships.
Okay.
Because imagine trying to navigate all the complexities of love and friendships. Or even just having a simple conversation when you don't even fully grasp your own emotions.
Right.
Let alone what the other person's feeling.
Oh, yeah. That's a recipe for disaster, for sure.
Misunderstandings are bound to happen.
Big time.
Yeah.
And I bet it's not just about arguing with your partner or your friends. It goes deeper than that, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It impacts our decision-making, too.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, think about it. Have you ever made an impulsive purchase after a bad day and then totally regretted it later?
Is that why I own so many novelty socks?
Maybe. But seriously, Burnett links emotional ignorance to things like anxiety, stress, even depression.
Wow. So we're talking about more than just awkward social encounters or bad decisions. This is serious stuff.
It really is.
Okay, so before we all just crawl under a rock and hide from our feelings, tell me there's hope.
Oh, there is.
Okay.
We are not stuck.
Please tell me that.
Burnett says that emotional intelligence is a skill that could be learned and improved, and he even offers some practical strategies in the book.
Okay. Give me the wisdom.
Oh.
A wise expert. What can we do?
Well, one of the most powerful tools he talks about is self-reflection. Really taking a step back and honestly examining your emotions, trying to figure out where are these feelings coming from and how are they impacting my actions?
So less blame the world, more understand myself.
Exactly. Another strategy Burnet emphasizes is mindfulness.
Oh, mindfulness. Everybody's talking about mindfulness these days.
It's true, but there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
It's about learning to observe your emotions in the present moment without judgment.
So not trying to suppress our feelings or pretend they don't exist.
Right.
But also not letting them completely control us. Easier said than done.
It definitely takes practice, but the more we do it, the better we get at recognizing those subtle cues and patterns.
Okay, so that's self-reflection and mindfulness. Got it.
Yeah.
Any other tips?
Don't be afraid to seek feedback from others.
Wait, you mean actually ask other human beings for their perspective on our emotional blind spots?
Yeah.
That sounds terrifying, but also necessary. Asking for feedback on our emotional selves. That's brave. But I see what you mean. Sometimes we need an outside perspective to illuminate those blind spots.
Exactly. And, often the people who know us best are the ones who can offer the most helpful insights. Not to criticize.
Right.
But to help us see our own patterns more clearly.
It's like they're holding up a mirror to our emotional selves, and we're getting a reflection from a different angle. Okay, so we've got self-reflection, mindfulness, seeking feedback. These all feel like pretty personal tools, though.
Yeah.
Like, what about our responsibility as a society? Could we be doing more? I mean, what if emotional intelligence was taught, like, in school?
Now, there's a revolutionary idea.
Right.
And, Burnet actually touches upon this in the book. He argues that as a society, we often prioritize logic and intellect over emotional intelligence.
It's true. We're practically taught to suppress emotions, not understand them.
Exactly. It's like, don't be so sensitive or just keep a lid on it, as if emotions are these like messy, inconvenient things to be hidden away.
Yeah, and they're like a fundamental part of who we are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine if instead of shutting down emotions, we equipped kids with the skills to actually recognize, process, and express them in healthy ways.
That would be incredible. Like workplaces that value emotional intelligence relationships built on genuine understanding, even politics that embrace empathy. It's mind-blowing.
Right. It's a vision worth striving for.
Yeah.
And it all starts with each of us taking ownership of our own emotional world, recognizing those ostrich moments, not with judgment, but with a sense of curiosity.
So to wrap up, it seems like the takeaway from this deep dive is we all experience emotional ignorance. It's part of being human, but it's not a life sentence.
Exactly. With self-awareness, mindfulness, and a willingness to learn, we can cultivate greater emotional intelligence. And that benefits not just ourselves, but our relationships and society as a whole.
Well said. This deep dive has given us a lot to think about. If you're even a little bit intrigued by this concept of emotional ignorance, I highly recommend checking out Dean Burnet's book. It's both insightful and hilarious. Who knew neuroscience could be so entertaining?
Right.
And remember, this journey of emotional discovery is ongoing. Be kind to yourself, seek support when you need it, and never underestimate the power of a little self-reflection.
Very well said.
Keep exploring those inner landscapes. Until next time, keep diving deep.